What's happened to us? Paul said there's power. We forgot about the power. There's power. Look at your neighbor and say there's power. There's so much power in the church. God is not slacking. God's not asleep. God is not gone old. Like I was talking about my grandmother getting older and her hair getting. God's not gone. He's not aged one bit. What's God doing? And we say, well, you know what? God's got a lot of things going on. No, here's what God's got one major deal in his life. He don't care about the cell phone business. He don't care about the ball game business. He's not in the Super Bowl. He's not in the World Series. God's not involved in that. God can care less who wins the Super Bowl. Not like me. God does. I mean, God knows. God's what? Got one ordeal, Charlie. One ordeal in God's life. It's the church. It's all about the church. You say, well, God don't care about me. No, I'm not saying that. He cares about us. He cares about what you do. He cares about what you love. He cares about your job and your children. But I'm saying, we've got God all in all this out here. And God's like, I'm concerned with the church. Everything else. Look at AT&T. If I owned AT&T for one day, it amazes me when I go to pay my bill. It does. You know, when you go to a store, most of the time you got to turn your dollars around to where they go the right way. They got a little man's face up there, and you said you got to have George Washington going like this. And if he's not facing that way, it won't take it. You know what I'm talking about? You pull it, it keeps going. You stick the end, you go, finally you're like, okay, I turn it around. You go to the AT&M or AT&T machine to pay your bill. Honey, they don't care if you wad it up. I get down my bill forward, I can turn it sideways, you'll go. I'm serious. It don't matter. You do that. I go down to Orangeburg and I'll pay ours because it's paid automatically and they pay it right there. And it doesn't matter, Barb, if I stick it in with George Washington. I can paint him, I can put a false face on him and paint it on, and it would still take it. And I'm sitting there one day and I watch these people in front of me and I'm standing there in line and I'm just watching them and they walk up. It's hilarious. They walk up and now probably out of 6 people, AT&T's made $1,200. Because they walk up and they get their money out and they go, and they walk up and they walk. It's just like robots. And someone else walks up and gets their money out. And here's what I like. If you need change, you'll ask the guy at the desk, I don't have the right amount of change. He goes, we don't either. So what if I have to give them a 20 too much? Sorry. They'll add it to your bill. What if I got to eat this week? They'll add it to your bill. And you can see that, so putting it in, and we all, but he finally gets to me, and I'm putting it in like this, and I'm going, you know what, I really like a cell phone. Oh, man, there's a pair of shoes. There's a shirt. There's dinner. We eat this week. And then as we all walk out to our cars, you see 6 or 7 other people walking in with their heads down going, I'm going. If we made the money, Terry, that'd make it one day. We'd never have to work again. I could share it with all of you. We'd be rich. God's not concerned about AT&T. He's concerned about the church. Going down and down. Lack of power. He said, I didn't just pause. I didn't come to you in just word. I want to show you some power. God needs to shake up the church today. Amen. He needs to go through town, go through the countryside, and all these little churches that one time you could see the lights on at 11 o'clock at night. You could hear people shouting, you could hear people singing. It didn't matter if they sung for 2 hours. It didn't matter if the preacher decided to preach for 2 hours. It didn't matter. Now they get in, get out. Get in, get out. We want to, it's like a ticket. You go in, you say, I'm here at church, here's my check, give me a ticket. I was in church today, God. And God said, what did it benefit? It didn't help you any. You didn't change your life this week to do what the preacher said. What does it matter? We need some churches today that God come in and go, you know what? We'll shake it up. Amen. We'll shake it up. And you know what? People say, well, if they shake it up, people's going to make fun of it. You know what? I promise you this. I've seen this over all my years of ministry. When things start getting shook up in the church, people will come. They may not come tomorrow. They may not come next week. They may not come a month from now. But as soon as they start hearing about it, it's like a fire. law now, isn't it? Ain't it against the law to chase a... Used to in the old days, old school, I call it that. In the old days, they could come a fire, and when something got on fire, as soon as the public heard about it, everybody in the community was at that fire. What do you see? I don't see nothing. I see smoke. Get a little closer. I mean, you was right up there, you know, and the guy with the fire hose is right there, and he's putting it out, and you was right there beside him going, what's happening? Now you can't do that. They catch you chasing a fire truck today, you get a ticket. But it's the same way with the power of the gospel. When a church starts changing, starts moving, people start getting saved, people's lives start changing, young people start piling in there, they go, why is them kids going down there for? I don't know, but there's something going on down there. You know what will happen? A lot of people will start going. They'll get up on Sunday morning and go, you know what? I know we've been going to this church for 20 or 30 years. Let's just go down to this church one time. Let's just see what's going on. I want to be nosy and see what's going on. And when they get in there and begin to be nosy, Terry, and then the preacher preaches or somebody sings and the gospel begins to move and the power of God starts to move, then they start changing their life. And then after church, they go, you know what? I don't think we're going to go back up there no more. Think I'm going to come here. Talk to a Catholic priest. I mentioned him to y'all before. Going to a church one time when he was at Philippi. He was a wild preacher over there. He went one time. Never went back to Catholic school or whatever. Never went back to wherever, seminary, wherever he went. Never went back. He said it was something there. Something changed me. Something was different. He said it wasn't dead. It wasn't people who was all wrapped up in knowledge. He said there was something that was moving in the air. He goes, it felt kind of good. So he said, I went that Sunday. He said, then I came back that Sunday night. He said, then I found myself there on a Wednesday night. He said, then I found myself there on a Sunday. And he said, it wasn't very long. And listen to this, a priest, he said, I gave my heart to the Lord. It changed my life. How do you change a priest's life? If power's in a church, people will come. If God's moving,